There are two functionalities that will really save you some time, and you're going to fall in love with these if you've never seen them. And that's intersect and accept. Now, these first appeared in SQL Server 2005, and if you're like most developers, if it's not been around a while, you tend not to use it unless it really caught your attention, because we kind of tend to get caught in a rut and we do things the same old way. Now, you can get this information very close to it with the join statement, but it's just not as easy, and it's not really exactly the same thing, but I don't want to go too deep into that right now. But how many times do you have two tables and you want to know where they intersect or where there's an exception? When they intersect, we're talking about the same data in both tables. So you see two tables here, and let's say we want to know how many instances do we have employees that's in one table, say these are accountants, and employees in marketing who are the same age. Don't know why we'd want to know that, but we do. We get a lot of queries that we don't know why they want to know, right? And so very, very easy to do with this. We basically build two separate queries, put the word intersect between them. It compares the result set and shows us where a value is in both tables. And accept does just the opposite. It's the exception. It's where the values are not in both tables. And then it just returns the one that's the exception from the left table. And I'll explain that when we get there. So intersect gives us values common to both tables, and accept values that are not common to both tables. Now what's going to happen here is it returns distinct values by comparing the results of two queries. Intersect returns any distinct values that are returned by the queries on both the left and right side of the keyword intersect. And again, I'll show you that. Accept returns any distinct values that are found in the left query that are not found in the right query. And so we'll talk about this left and right business. But for now, let's jump out into the Management Studio and open up a query. And I'm going to make sure that I'm pointing toward the AdventureWorks 2012 database. And I want to show you something here. I'm going to use the diagram, okay? I'm going to design the query in the editor. And I won't exactly use a database diagram, but I will use this editor, which does, in fact, give me a bit of a diagram. And I want to look at the person.person table, because I want you to see how I got to this place, okay? There's the person table. So I'll double click that and add it. And then I want the human resources employee table. And so I will come back, and there's the employee human resources. Now notice these things are joined to each other. And I can see that. And if I right click on the join graphic here and go to properties, I can see the join condition and type. And notice I can see that the inner join is on business entity ID in person.person. Let me move back up there. And employee one business entity ID. And so you can see there's the employee one table, and then there's person. I just want you to see how I found this, okay? And how I see this. Now, let's talk about this with a minimal amount of confusion here, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is just type my select statement. I'm going to select business entity ID from person.person. And then if you remember my other query, I wanted to select business entity ID from human resources. And I can just go down there and hit enter, hit period. I could have just hit period. And I'll pull this from employee. Now, I want to know what value, what business entity ID is in both of those tables. So I just say, give me the intersect on these and execute both of those. And there they are, 290 rows. So the business entity ID is in both of those tables, 290 times. And there you see them. Now, you can come down here and order by the business entity ID, highlight all that. And notice now they're in ascending order if I need them that way. Now, what happens if I want to know which ones are not there? Notice that's 290 rows, by the way. And so now we're just going to do accept, and I'll execute it. And this should be the remainder. This is 19,682 rows, right? Well, I know from our previous work in person.person, right? And if I highlight just that and run it, it comes up to 19,972 or something like that. If you subtract 290 from that, you will end up with that value that we got right here, 19,682. So it'll either give us everybody who's intersecting or they're in both tables for business entity ID, or the numbers that are not in both tables. This comes in really handy when you're trying to compare two tables to see what's in there and what's not. Okay, so just kind of stick this out there in your administrator toolkit, your programmer toolkit. You might want to go out and read a little bit about some of the technicals about how this is working as opposed to a join. But this is very, very simple, very, very easy to compare data in two tables. So that's a quick look at intersect and accept. And this code, and actually a little more than this, is out there in your working files folder so you can see this and play with it just like you've seen it here.